China White.
Yes.
Was it hard for you to figure out who China White was?
We contacted the drug unit, and they were able to provide his real name.
And you were then able to put his photo in a photo array?
Correct.
Deputy, I want to show you what's been admitted. One moment. Deputy, I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit MMM. Go ahead and take a look at this and tell me if you recognize it.
I do.
What is it?
This is the photo admonition as well as the photo array that contains Joshua Rainey, signed and indicated by Lateria Blocker.
Yesterday, I believe you discussed the procedure for administering a photo array.
Yes.
You read the person the instructions on the front in full,
Correct.
and then you hand it to them and let them make a selection.
Correct.
Did she select the photo?
Yes, she did.
And does that item appear to be in the same condition as when you placed into evidence?
It does.
At this time, the state will move State's Exhibit MMM into evidence as State's Exhibit.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
State's Exhibit MMM for identification will be received in evidence as State's Exhibit 41.
Deputy Eubanks, was the photograph that she selected the photograph of Joshua Rainey?
It was.
May I publish to the jury?
You may.
Ms. Blocker provide you with the tag number of a vehicle?
She did.
Did you attempt to run the tag?
I did.
Were you able to find any tag numbers matching the one that she provided?
No, sir.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Bankowitz?
So Detective Eubanks, basically China White and Joshua Rainey are the same person.
Correct.
Thank you.
No questions.
Detective Eubanks, you took a statement from Ms. Blocker that evening, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in that statement, she indicated to you that she saw two individuals high-five each other, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And Ms. Blocker, also in her statement, she was able to identify Mr. King and Mr. Barrow as to where they were sitting in the vehicle, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Is he going to be recalled?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can step down.
Thank you.
Next witness?
Next witness will be Melissa Hall.
Gonna walk up, all right? Face ready, cross, raise your right hand.
You swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Have a seat.
Good morning, miss. How are you?
Okay,
Good. Can you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the court reporter?
Melissa Hall, Melissa, Hall, Hall.
You're a little soft-spoken.
I'm sorry.
Here's what I'm gonna, no, it's okay.
Come
Just
closer.
scoot in. You don't have to talk directly into the microphone, but if you're a little closer to it, it'll pick up your voice.
Okay.
Just make sure you talk loud enough that all the jurors can hear you, okay?
Okay.
All right. Ms. Hall, you live in the Gainesville area,
Yes.
and you've been convicted previously of a felony on 4 occasions?
Yes.
And you've been convicted of 1 misdemeanor involving dishonesty or false
Yes.
statement, correct? Okay. Although you live in Gainesville, have you ever lived in Ocala?
Yes.
At what points in your life?
2010 all the way up to like 2012. Then I moved back in 2013.
So you moved, when you say back to Ocala or back to Gainesville?
Back to Ocala in 2013.
Okay. So for a period of about 3 years, you lived here too, give or take?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Cloud 9 nightclub?
Yes.
How are you familiar with Cloud 9?
I used to attend
How often would you go there?
maybe 2 to 3 times out the week.
2 or 3 times a week? You're a regular?
Yes.
Okay. You remember being there on September 13, 2015?
Yes.
When you went there that night, did you have to wait in line to get inside?
Yes.
You know what time you got there?
Maybe around 12:30, almost 1.
Were you able to get in right away?
No.
Does the club eventually reach capacity?
Yeah, it was at capacity, so we had to stand outside and wait to get in.
Is the idea that if like 10 people come out, 10 more people can go in?
Sometimes.
Sometimes more, sometimes less?
Yes.
While you were out front, did anything happen that was out of the ordinary?
When I was out front in the beginning, nothing was going on, and next I know, like a crowd pushed outside the club, and there was this fight going on.
Could you tell who was fighting?
I didn't know the 2 individuals that was fighting at first, so no, I didn't know. I just know it was 2 females fighting.
Did you see any men with them?
Yes, it was one guy that pushed outside the club with the 2 girls that was fighting.
Do you remember what he was wearing?
A black shirt and I think some gym shorts.
Some.
Black shorts and a black shirt and some gym shorts.
Now, had you ever seen that individual before?
No,
Were you familiar with him through Facebook or social media?
no.
So what happens when that gentleman's outside as well?
He's like trying to fight the other female that the other female was fighting, and there was this like pushing, shoving. He swung on her a couple of times, like he pushed her, and then like people was trying to pull him away from her, And then I was just standing there recording the fight, and it was just like a lot going on, but it was just like he was being real aggressive towards the other girl. I guess he kept saying it was his sister that the girl was fighting, and just yelling out all different kind of things that, and he looked directly into the camera, was like, F the...
You can say bad words today.
Okay.
If you're talking about what other people said.
I'm
just so-
sorry.
Okay?
Well, he was like, fuck the police, fuck that camera. I don't give a fuck about none of this shit. Like, looked directly in my camera and said this.
You see that person in court today?
Yes.
He described what he's wearing.
The white shirt.
May record reflections identify Mr. Barrow.
The record will so reflect.
You mentioned your camera.
Yes.
What kind of camera did you have?
A cell phone.
Were you there with a friend that night?
Yes.
Did you each make a recording?
Yes.
Did you end up with both of those recordings?
Yes.
Were you standing next to each other when the recordings were being made?
Yes.
Why'd you start recording?
It's just a thing to do when you have a social media account. You record fights sometimes.
Were you gonna put it? Were you gonna post it somewhere?
I don't know if I was gonna post it. It depends on how it like ended up. Like I just recorded just to have something. I was standing outside the club. There wasn't nothing going on, so I started recording it.
The record reflect I'm showing defense counsel as marked as states exhibits SS and UU. I want to show you what's marked as states exhibit SS. You recognize that DVD?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
We watched it, went over it in your office, and I signed it, dated it.
You recognize your signature and the date?
Yes.
And I'm now going to show you States Exhibit UU.
Okay.
You recognize that DVD?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
I signed it, dated it.
Also in my office?
Yes.
And that was after having watched these?
Yes.
Do these each contain accurate recordings of what was going on at Cloud in front of the Cloud 9 nightclub on September 13, 2015?
Yes.
This time the state will move States Exhibits SS and UU and reduces States Exhibits UU.
No objection.
State's Exhibit SS for identification will be received in evidence as State's Exhibit 42. State's Exhibit UU for identification will be received in evidence as State's Exhibit 43.
Ms. Hall, do you recognize anybody else in the courtroom today as having been at the nightclub that night?
The plaintiff over in the black shirt with the bow tie.
Do you remember what he was wearing that night?
A white shirt. I think it had words on. I think it said "I got beer" or something on it. I'm not quite sure what the word. It looked like it said "got beer" on it.
And for the record, should identify Mr. Smith?
The record will so reflect.
So at some point, you stopped filming?
Yes,
Why'd you all stop filming?
because a gun got pulled out.
And how long, and who did you see with the gun?
The plaintiff with the white shirt.
Tell the jury about that.
The fight was going on. Somehow the rest of the club got pushed outside the club, and then I guess the person that he was arguing with inside the club came out, and he was getting ready to fight. So he was taking his shirt off, was like, "What's up? What's up?" And next thing I know, the plaintiff stepped back and pulled
When you say the plaintiff,
Oh, I'm
describe
sorry.
him by the shirt color he's wearing today.
the white shirt. He stepped back, and the other dude thought they was gonna fight, but they didn't. He stepped back and he pulled the gun out, and that's all you seen was like start shooting, and everybody just started running.
And your video recording stopped short of capturing that, is that
Mhm.
correct?
Yes, I stopped because I seen what was starting to happen.
Where were you when the shots
began to fire?
Standing in front of the club under the pole, like right beside the road.
Hold up State's Exhibit 32B. You see that, the light pole in front of the club on the photo? Where is that?
Right.
Isn't that published to the jury?
Yes, sir.
Did you know Benitria Robinson?
Not personally, no.
Did you know of her?
Yes.
What did you know of her?
Just pictures of her on Facebook, like prom. She was well known for dressing. She had a unique style.
She had
A unique style.
Did you see her that night
No, I didn't actually see her. I seen her after what happened.
after she was shot?
Mm-hmm.
Where was she when you saw her?
Behind, ended up like where the pole was. She was right there on the sidewalk.
How close were you to where she landed?
No more than like maybe 3 steps or 3 feet away from her.
State's Exhibit WW?
Ms. Hall, do you remember meeting with a detective named Mark Newbanks?
Yes.
Did you actually meet with 2 detectives in this case?
I think so. I think 2. One showed up first, then another one I ended up meeting later.
The one that showed up first, was he there to collect the camera footage?
Yes.
Was that the day after the incident?
It was like a couple of hours after the incident.
And then probably about 12 days or so later, around the 25th, another detective came and met with you?
Yes.
Did he show you a series of photographs?
Yes.
I want to show you a list of marked as State's Exhibit WW. Just start, take a look at that and tell me if you recognize.
Yes.
Go ahead and open this up in this hole. I'm gonna look at the second page. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
Were these this the series of photographs the detective showed you?
Yes.
Did you select a photograph as someone you recognized?
Yes.
Did you sign it?
Yes.
Did you also circle a photograph?
Yes. I circled it initially.
What person did you circle and initial?
Plaintiff in a white shirt.
You remember the stuff he was saying?
Yes.
Did he appear to you to be upset,
Yes.
angry,
Yes.
agitated?
It, all that.
What was he saying?
He was just yelling out, just F the police.
You can curse. It's okay.
He was screaming, fuck the police. He didn't give a fuck about none of that shit. Everybody thinks shit was sweet because of Merv Gotti was locked up. He wasn't taking, it was just a bunch of rambling.
Did he say anything that you consider to be a threat to do violence?
When he told everybody to wait right there that he'll be back.
Did he say anything about a body?
Yeah, he said that he was something in that. It's on the tape, like, I can't remember exactly, but I know it was something about a body. He was finna lay a body out, or it was something in that particular about laying a body out. He was going to get something, he'll be right back, and about the body.
Yes, sir. He said 43. podium, so it's blocking some view. Bring it this way. Yes, sir. Mr. Bankowitz.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, did you see this gentleman outside the club?
No, I didn't.
So he wasn't standing there next to this gentleman when the fight was going on?
Not as I seen him, no.
So, you know Gary King?
No,
Never seen him before?
no,
Didn't see him that night?
no, I did not.
Didn't see him with a gun shooting anybody, did you?
No, I did not.
Thank you.
Mr. Worley.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Hall, you know the gentleman in the white shirt who was holding back my client?
No, I do not.
Okay. The gentleman that was, as he was holding him back, "Let me go, cuz." That was a large man in a white shirt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you know who a person named China White?
No, I do not.
Did you ever see anybody out there with a chrome gun that night?
No, I do not.
Did you ever see anybody shooting in the air?
No.
Okay. Did you ever see a bouncer that evening with a firearm?
No, I didn't see a bouncer with a firearm.
Sorry?
No, I did not see a bouncer with a firearm.
Okay. Now, you would agree with me, would you not, that as far as your recollection of what you heard and what you said, the tape would be the best vehicle for that, correct?
Not really. It was a lot of noise and there was a lot of movement going on, so you couldn't really get, unless you focus in on it. And
But the statements that you heard
Mm-hmm.
were during the time that you were using the cell phone video to capture this?
Not all of it, no, it was not all.
Some of them were after or before?
Some of it was before and some of it was after.
Now, you have been convicted of 4 felonies, correct?
Yes,
And you have been convicted of 1 crime involving dishonesty, correct?
yes.
Ms. Hawthorne?
Good morning.
And Ms. Hall, you described seeing my client that evening
Yes.
with a white tank top,
No, it was not a white tank top, it was a white t-shirt.
t-shirt?
Mhm.
Okay. Was
It
he on
had
that
something
video?
writing on it. I think so. If you look at it again, you can see him over as in the crowd as they was holding him back, saying, let him, he okay, he's great cuz, he's great cuz.
I couldn't see that.
Well, maybe you should look again.
Okay. Maybe we should all look again. All right.
I don't know. How you missed it.
Would you agree that your video wasn't very stable as far as
Yes, I
what we
agree.
could see?
Yes, but you could see the individuals that
Okay.
I pointed out.
All right. And did you see my client in the club?
I didn't make it inside the club. I was
Okay.
outside
Okay.
waiting to get in.
Oh, okay. You were one of the 100 people or so?
It wasn't 100 people or so outside. It was more than maybe 20 of us outside waiting to get in.
Okay. And so when all this happened, there wasn't like 100 people out there?
The most got pushed out maybe was an extra 25 to 30 people got pushed outside when the fight was going on.
Okay. All right. And that's what you recall?
Yes.
All right. And where did you go when the shots started to ring out?
I ran towards the oyster bar.
Okay. And did you assist anyone after that?
Yes.
Did you film after that?
No, I did not.
Okay. And now, had you seen my client inside the bar?
Once again, I never went inside.
Excuse me?
I never went inside.
Okay, not even afterwards?
Why would I go afterwards when there's a shooting and people laying out on the ground?
Okay, all right. So, and afterwards, did you see my client?
Afterward, the shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I did not see him.
Okay.
It was chaotic. Everybody was pulling out. People was on the ground.
Okay. Did you ever see my client with a gun?
Yes.
And when did you see my client with a gun?
When he was walking past me, he had it down into his waistband.
When he was walking past you?
Yes.
Okay.
When he walked past me, he had it in his waistband.
All right. And was that the first time you'd ever seen my client?
Yes.
You'd never seen him before?
No.
And so you're picking out a stranger from a momentary glimpse?
It wasn't just a momentary glance. They was out there in the altercation. I seen them walk past several times.
There were lots of people walking
But
past.
it was just those particular people in the altercation. It was other people out, but other people was watching just like I was watching. It was only certain people involved in this altercation.
Okay. And if there are other photographs of my client wearing a tank top and red shorts,
Maybe he took off his shirt, but he did not have a tank top on at the moment.
okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Redirect. Is the witness excused? Okay, you can go back to where you were waiting. Thank you. Call your next witness. from the court.
On September 25th, 2015, did you go to Gainesville, Florida to meet with Melissa Hall?
I did.
Did you show her a series of photographs in a photographic lineup?
I did.
I'm sure you must have marked this State's Exhibit WW. Do you recognize that?
I do. Can I take it out of the package?
Yes, sir.
I do.
What is it?
This is the photo array and the photo array admonition form signed and indicated by Melissa Hall.
And you showed her that series of photographs?
Yes.
And she selected one of the photos?
Yes.
Who is that a picture of that she selected?
Defendant Barra.
Does this appear to be in the same condition as when you placed it into evidence?
Yes.
This time the state will move State's Exhibit WW.
Hawthorne, or sorry, Mr. Bankowitz.
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. State's Exhibit WW will be received in evidence as State's Exhibit 44.
What did Ms. Hall describe that the person she selected in State's Exhibit 44 as doing?
On the admonition, she stated that she observed the individual located in position 4 as going to a car to get a gun after being kicked out of the club, saying he was going to shoot D in the face.
Did she
Objection, Judge.
It's the objection.
Your session.
Overruled.
Did she make any other statements about that? What that person did during your interview with her?
She did.
What else did she say that person did?
She described the defendant as wearing dark-colored camouflage Army fatigue style pants, and she stated that he removed a pistol from his right pants pocket.
Did she say whether she observed that individual shooting the gun?
Yes, she said that she observed the defendant pointing the firearm and discharging a round.
Nothing further?
Cross-examination, Mr. Bankowitz.
The only person she picked out was Mr. Barrow,
Correct.
and she never identified Gary King as doing anything or even being there, did she?
Not with my time with her, no, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hawthorne.
She never picked out Michael Smith from the lineup, did she?
Not with my time with her, no, ma'am.
And she never made any statements to you about describing him as being there?
No, ma'am.
And she didn't identify any clothing that she thought he might be wearing?
Your client?
My client, yeah.
I do not believe so, no, ma'am.
Okay. So, during your time with her, she never said anything about Mr. Smith
No, ma'am.
and the Cloud 9 shooting?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Corley.
Okay.
I did not.
Were you there? You were part of handling this case?
Yes.
Are you aware if there's been any type of forensic evaluation of those phone videos to see if they were been erased or if they have been deleted in any parts whatsoever?
I'm not sure.
Did you yourself request any such investigation?
No.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Detective Dodd, Sergeant Dodd collected from the videos?
Yes.
Did everybody in major crimes work on this one?
Yeah, yes.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Nothing, sir.
There you go.
You can step down. Call your next witness.
swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Can you scoot up to the microphone just a little bit? Can you tell the jury your name?
Ebony Yeomans.
And can you spell it for the court reporter, please?
Ebony, E-B-O-N-Y, last name Yeomans, Y-O-U-M-A-N-S.
And Ms. Yeomans, are you currently employed?
Yes, ma'am.
And where are you employed?
At Avante.
What is that?
It's a nursing and rehab.
Okay. How long have you been there?
A few months.
Okay. Do you live in Ocala, Marion County?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you lived here in Marion County?
All my life.
Do you know a person by the name of Danielle Kendrick?
Yes, ma'am.
Describe your relationship with Danielle.
That's my best friend.
Okay. What do you call her? Does she have a nickname? Dee Dee? Okay. Do you know Nathaniel Kendrick?
Yes, ma'am.
And who is Nathaniel Kendrick to you?
That's my best friend's brother.
Okay. Did you previously have a dating relationship with him?
Yes, ma'am.
When?
A few years ago.
Okay. Do you know a person by the name of Maisha Barrow?
I have heard of her name, but don't know her personally.
Okay. Have you seen her around town before?
I have.
On multiple occasions?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know a person by the name of Laquan Barrow, or Quan?
Don't know him personally.
Okay. Have you seen him before?
I have.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please point to him and identify something that he's wearing?
White shirt, blue tie.
Let the record reflect the witness has identified Laquan Barrow.
The record will so reflect.
Do you know somebody by the name of Gary King?
I've heard of him.
Okay. Have you seen him before?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Black shirt,
Okay. Black shirt. What kind of tie is he wearing?
black and white tie.
Regular tie?
Yes, ma'am.
Let the record reflect the witness has identified Gary King.
The record will so reflect.
Do you know somebody by the name of Michael Eugene Smith?
I've heard of him
Have you seen him before?
once.
Once? The night of the Cloud9 shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you describe something he's wearing?
Black shirt, teal tie.
Okay. Bow tie?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let the record reflect the witness has identified Michael Smith.
The record will so reflect.
Did you go to Cloud9 Club on September 12th, going into the morning of September 13th of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you before you went to the club?
To my mom's.
Who else was there with you?
A bunch of family, because my nieces had came down.
Okay. And eventually, some of you went to the club that night?
Yes, ma'am.
Who went with you?
Danielle and I believe one of my other nieces.
Okay, so 3 of you went together in one car?
I met Danielle in town.
Okay. Did you arrive together with Dee Dee?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you park?
I can't quite remember.
Okay. Do you know approximately what time you got there?
It was after 11.
Okay. And were you able to get in the club when you got there?
Yes, ma'am.
How crowded was it when you arrived?
Not so crowded.
So you go inside and what do you do?
Just stand around.
Okay. Eventually, does a fight break out inside the club?
Yes, ma'am.
How close were you to this altercation?
Probably like where I'm sitting to where you're standing.
Okay. So, would you say 15, 20 feet?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see who was involved in this fight?
Yes, ma'am.
Who?
The girl they call Maisha and Laquan.
Okay. And who else?
It was a bunch of people around, so.
Okay. Who was Maisha fighting?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was she fighting?
Danielle.
And you said Quan became involved in it as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Did that get broken up?
Eventually,
How?
by security.
What happened with that group that was involved in the fight?
They put him outside.
Did you end up outside as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Describe to the jury what happened once the group and yourself was outside the club.
Was a security guard was out there, and I was pretty much like, can you just make them leave so we can go, to like suppress the situation so nothing further would happen. And it was just a bunch of commotion going on outside.
Did a fight start up outside the club as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Between who?
Danielle and Maisha.
Okay, so it started up again after they were outside.
Yes, ma'am.
Did Laquan become involved in that as well?
I can't quite remember.
Did you see Nate at any time inside the club?
Once.
When you saw him inside the club, what was going on?
Nothing, just passed him.
Okay. Did you see him outside the club?
Eventually.
Okay. At the point in time that we were just talking about when Maisha and Danielle started fighting again, he was not outside? Okay. What was Laquan doing when his sister and Danielle started fighting again outside the club?
He was trying to get closer to the fight.
Did he get close to the fight?
Not to get involved.
Did you hear him say anything at this point in time?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you hear him say?
He said he gonna wet a bitch.
What does that mean to you?
To me, that means he's gonna shoot somebody.
Okay. And when you say wet, you're saying W-E-T?
Yes,
Wet?
ma'am.
Okay. After he said that, what did he do?
He was just pacing back and forth in the parking lot.
Okay. Where was all this going on in relation to the front door of the club?
Like, right in the front.
Okay.
Like, as soon as you get out of the door.
Do you remember what Laquan was wearing that night?
Yes, ma'am.
What was he wearing?
He originally had on a black t-shirt with a dark color bottoms, but outside he had on a black tank top.
Same bottoms that you saw him in before?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see Gary King there at the club that night?
I don't remember seeing him inside, but afterwards.
Okay. Where did you first remember seeing him?
As he came to the front door after the shooting.
Okay. So you didn't see him until after the shooting took place?
Yes, ma'am.
What about Michael Smith? Did you see him there that night?
Yes, ma'am.
Inside the club?
I can't recall seeing him inside.
And you saw him, where do you recall him being the first time you saw him that night?
Standing to the right side of the building.
Okay. And do you remember what he was wearing?
A white t-shirt and red basketball shorts. A white tank top.
Does anybody try to break up the fight that's occurring between Maisha and Danielle outside the club at this point?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was trying to do that?
Myself along with some other people that was outside.
Were you successful in breaking the two females up?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened after that?
We was just pretty much trying to get security to just clear the parking lot.
Were you trying to leave?
Yeah.
Were you trying to take Danielle with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was your cousin that you were there with? Was she out there as well?
I can't remember where she was at the time.
After the fight broke up outside, where were you in relation to the front door of the club?
To the edge of the building, towards the right.
Towards the Oyster Bar or the other side?
The other side.
Okay, the parking lot next to Cloud 9?
Yes, ma'am.
On the side? Okay, so you're more towards the side of the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What happens next?
Eugene and Quan is standing out in the parking lot, and then him and Danielle is exchanging words.
Who and who are exchanging words?
Quan and Danielle.
Okay. And what do you hear Quan say, if you can understand anything?
He kept saying he was going to catch him a body.
Did you see Nathaniel at this point?
Not at that time.
When do you see Nathaniel outside the club?
It was a few minutes had passed, and then that's when he came behind us.
So are you standing there with Danielle?
Yes, ma'am.
Facing the parking lot?
Yes, ma'am.
And where is Quan and Michael Eugene Smith?
Facing the building.
Okay. So you kind of facing each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are Laquan and Michael in relation to any cars or anything in the parking lot?
Standing like between the cars that was in the parking lot, more so towards the front of the vehicles.
Okay. And were they standing next to any particular car that you remember?
I can't remember that.
Okay. Was the parking lot packed at this point?
I mean, with cars, but the people were like everywhere.
Okay. I mean with cars, I'm sorry. Was it full with cars?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there also a vehicle parked kind of on the sidewalk in the front?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of vehicle was that?
All I remember was a dark colored vehicle. I never knew what type of vehicle it was.
Did you see Laquan Barrow with a firearm that night?
Yes, ma'am.
When's the first time you saw him with a gun?
When he got it from Eugene after they passed each other.
Okay. Where did they pass each other?
Like, not in a parking area, but in like the open spot before you actually get to the parking between the building, and they have parking spots. So before the parking spots start, they were right there.
So you saw Michael Eugene Smith hand Laquan Barrow a gun. What happens after that?
They were just standing out there, just walking back and forth.
Okay. Is this after you and Danielle and Laquan and Michael are facing each other and words are being exchanged?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So they're walking back and forth. What happens next?
And then eventually that's when Nathaniel came outside.
Okay. Once Nathaniel comes outside, what happens?
And he said, "What's up, nigga?"
Nathaniel said that?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you tell who he was directing that to?
From my understanding, he was saying it to Laquan.
Okay. Did Laquan respond back to that?
I can't remember. He probably was just out there, just moving around.
Okay. Where was Nathaniel at this point in time when he came outside in relation to you and Dee Dee?
Well, standing more so beside me, and Danielle was back here
Okay. Kind of back
a little bit.
behind the two of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are Laquan and Michael still facing, directed their bodies towards the front of the club?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What happens next?
And then Nathaniel told him, "If you're gonna shoot, nigga, shoot."
Okay. Nathaniel says that to Laquan.
Yes, ma'am.
What happens?
And they were just arguing back and forth, and then eventually shots started.
Okay. Did you see who was shooting?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you see shoot?
I first seen the one that Laquan had, then when Michael leveled off and started shooting.
Okay. So you saw both Laquan Barrow and Michael Eugene Smith shoot in which direction?
Towards the club way.
Okay. Who was standing there?
Like towards it, like beside the club.
Yeah.
It was other people that I can see behind me, and then me, Nathaniel, and then Danielle was that way.
So would you say that the three of you were closest to the two of them?
Yes, ma'am.
Once the two of them started shooting, what did you do?
We ducked and then ran in front of the building, inside the door.
Okay. And what did you see about Nate at that point in time after the shooting started?
Well, seeing him run, then fall inside the door.
Okay. And where were you when you saw him fall?
We was in the door together.
Okay. You and Nathaniel were in the door together?
Yes, ma'am.
Where was Danielle?
She had fell. I thought she had just tripped.
Was that in the front of the club?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened after she fell in front of the club?
Then I turned to look at her, and another girl was pulling her inside of the door.
Okay. Where did you get to?
Like, in the door, like right in the door.
Did you go in the club?
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do once you got inside the club?
I was just sitting there, like, shocked.
Did you call 911?
I tried.
Were you successful?
Not the first time.
Eventually, were you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see how Danielle left the property?
I know she left in a vehicle.
Was it in an ambulance?
Somebody
You're
took
under,
her.
what's that?
Somebody took her.
Okay, somebody else, some citizen took her to the hospital?
Yeah, I didn't see who took her. Somebody took her.
After this night, Ms. Yeomans, did law enforcement have contact with you to show you multiple series of photographs of people?
Yes, ma'am.
Show you first, Ms. Yeomans, two. For identification states AAA and states ZZ. Let's do AAA first. Do you recognize this piece of paper?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recognize your signature on there?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you states ZZ, do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recognize your initials on there?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you select a photo out
Yes,
of this one?
Yes, ma'am.
And you recognize the photo that you circled as being who?
Look on there.
Showing you states XX, do you recognize that piece of paper?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a signature on that piece of paper?
Yes, ma'am.
Showing you states BBB. You recognize that piece of paper?
Yes, ma'am.
And is your signature on that piece of paper?
Yes, ma'am.
And you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
And you recognize your initials on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And you selected a photo out of this one?
Yes, ma'am.
And who do you recognize that to be?
The guy that had on the white shirt, Michael.
Okay. No further questions.
Mr. Banquet?
Judge. Ms. Yeomans, you said you knew Gary King, correct?
I know of him.
Of him, on Facebook or just in the neighborhood or what?
Just heard about him.
Okay. And the gentleman you identified in the black shirt with a long tie, that's who you know as Gary King?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I believe you indicated that you did not even see Gary King there until after the shooting, is that correct?
Yes.
And you were right there when the shooting took place?
Yes, sir.
And you did not see him with a gun or fire a gun, did you?
No, sir.
Did you ever tell the police that Mr. King was one of the people who shot Mr. Kendrick and his sister?
No, I told them that I seen him coming inside the club after the shooting.
After the shooting? No gun in his hand?
I don't know what he had in his pocket.
Okay. Well, I didn't ask about his pocket. I said, did you see a gun in his hand?
Not in his hand.
And as a matter of fact, he wasn't even standing there when the shooting took place, was he?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, you were looking right at the shooters, weren't you?
Yes.
You saw the gunfire,
Yes.
and you did not see Gary King, did you?
Not then.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Gorley?
Ms. Simmons, did I hear you correctly? You said Mr. King came into the club after the shooting?
He tried to come in the door, but that's where Nathaniel was laying in the door, so nobody could come back in.
Okay, and that's the front entrance where the video camera is?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Dee Dee's your best friend?
Yes, she is.
Danielle Kendrick?
Yes.
Y'all went to the club together?
Yes, sir.
And Nate is your boyfriend?
No, sir, he's not.
He was your boyfriend back then?
No.
You've previously been your boyfriend?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And does Nate go by any other names?
Nathaniel.
What are his nicknames?
Nate. Nathaniel.
Okay. Ever hear him called Munch?
No.
Ever hear him called Wild Bull?
I've heard of that.
Okay. In reference to him, right? That's a nickname of his, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I asked you if he goes by any other name and you just said Nate, that's not true, is it?
Because at that time, he wasn't allowing people to call him that, so he was only going by Nate.
Okay. Now, you'd agree with me, would you not, that Maisha and Danielle Kendrick do not get along?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And they had previously had altercations or fights before, correct?
From my understanding.
Okay. Were you at the fight in July?
I know nothing about July.
Okay, but you know of other fights or altercations?
I've known about altercations, but I don't have any knowledge of any other fights.
Okay. Did Danielle throw a drink on Maisha that night?
No, sir.
Did she push Maisha, get in her face?
No, sir.
All right. And how did this fight happen? Your best friend.
Yeah, we were just standing there. Nothing had took place. Because for Maisha, she was over there, so how would she end up over there where Danielle was? I don't know what would have made her come over there.
So when she came over there, the fight happened?
She swung at Danielle.
Okay, just walked over and swung at her.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's your testimony?
Yes, sir.
All right. And I believe I heard you correctly. You said that Quan came over and was swinging on her too. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
All right. And was Nate involved in this fight inside the club?
No, sir. He wasn't even over there.
He wasn't there yet?
I don't know if he was there, but he wasn't around us at that time.
All right. And your testimony then is that the bouncers threw you out?
Yes, sir.
Or threw them out? Okay. Now, while there was arguing going on outside, in fact, Dee Dee herself went outside and continued the altercation or fight, correct? She was trying to get at Maisha?
I don't think Maisha was outside then. I didn't see her when we first got put out.
All right. When you got put out and Danielle was out there, she was out there with you. Was she angry?
Yes.
Okay. When Maisha did come out of the club, was she angry at Maisha, trying to get to her?
She wasn't trying to get to her.
She was yelling at her, arguing with her?
They were arguing.
Now, you indicated that Laquan was trying to get to Danielle also?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember a individual with a white T-shirt named Kiera Scott out there?
I don't remember that.
Do you know who Kiera Scott is?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you ever see an individual in a large person bigger than Mr. Barrow?
Male or female?
Male. Trying to hold Mr. Barrow back from getting to Maisha?
From getting to Maisha?
Or getting to Nate? Or anybody?
I don't remember.
Okay. Now, when Danielle came out of the club, was there any altercation, physical altercation going on?
Between who?
Between Danielle and anybody?
No.
Okay. Do you remember her pepper spraying anybody?
I remember that.
Okay. Do you know why she would have pepper sprayed somebody if there's not an altercation going on?
Because
Overrule. You can answer if you can, ma'am.
Quan tried to hit her, and he told her if she pepper spray him, he was going to shoot her.
Okay. The statement, if she pepper sprays him, he's going to shoot her.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you gave statements to law enforcement as a part of this case, correct?
Yes, sir, I did.
You recall if you ever told law enforcement what you just said here today, that if Danielle pepper sprays him, he's going to shoot her? You ever make that statement to any of the detectives in law enforcement?
I can't remember.
Would you like, I have the statement in the interview that you gave to law enforcement. It doesn't contain any of that. Would you want to review it to see if you told law enforcement that?
I mean, if you have it, we can. But I know I've probably said it, but we can go over it.
Okay. Judge, it's a long deposition. I don't know if we want to have her review it and take a break, or...
It's a reasonable time for the mid-morning break anyway, and we'll get it accomplished during the break. So, all right, folks, we will take our mid-morning break. Please close your pads, leave them on the chairs. This should be about 15 or 20 minutes. All right, be in recess for approximately 15 minutes. Just stay there and he'll bring you the thing to read.
I've got a paper copy of it.
Finished reading. Was there anything else you wanted her to look at? Okay, they're ready. All right. I'm being told the jury is ready to come back, so we ready to recommence?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, let's return the juries, please.
Mr. Chairman, you've had an opportunity to review the statement that you gave to Detective Hughes and Detective Myers on September 15th of 2015, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you would agree with me, would you not, that in the statement that you gave to Detective Hughes and Detective Myers on September 15th, 2 days after the incident, there is no mention of that statement about supposedly my client making a statement about pepper spray. If you pepper spray me, I'm going to shoot you, right?
Right.
It's not in there, is it?
No, sir, it's not.
Okay. Is it not in there because you made it up here today?
No, sir, it's not in there because they didn't ask me that at that point.
Okay. They did ask you about what happened and what occurred and what was involved in the fight, correct?
Yes, sir.
And they asked you what happened in front of the club with my client, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And your testimony is because they didn't specifically ask you about pepper spray, you didn't make that statement?
It was a lot that happened outside of the club.
Consider that a pretty important fact, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Chose not to give it to them, though.
I gave them a lot of pretty important information.
Okay, but not that. Another important fact that you failed to give them was, I believe I heard your testimony here today, that Michael Smith handed Mr. Barrow a gun, and you observed him hand him a gun. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've reviewed the statement that was taken on September 15th, 2 days after the incident, to Detective Hughes and Detective Myers, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in that statement, you would agree with me, would you not? There is nothing there in this statement containing that fact.
I didn't look for that. I only looked for the question that you asked me.
Okay. Would you like to review it?
No, sir.
Was your brother at the club that night?
I don't have a brother.
Okay. Was a male friend of yours at the club that night?
As in, I
With
know
you?
a lot of people.
With you around when the fight with Maisha occurred?
No.
Okay. Did you yourself fight Maisha that evening?
No, sir.
Lay your hands on her or Quan?
No, sir.
Isn't it a fact that Laquan was pulling you off of Maisha?
No, but he did hit me.
So now he hit you?
You asked me, did my hands get involved in anything?
Okay. You've reviewed your statement that you gave 2 days after the incident. Do you recall whether you told the detectives that Laquan hit you?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Would you like to review it?
No, sir.
It's not. If I tell you that it's not contained in there,
It's in one of my statements because I'm sure I said it.
agree with me that your statement's changed
No,
every time
sir.
you told it,
No, sir.
including today?
No, sir.
It's always been the same?
Always been the same.
Now, isn't it true, Ms. Yeomans, that you've talked to Ms. Kendrick about this incident?
Possibly.
And you also talked to Nate about this incident?
Not really.
Not at all?
No.
All right. In talking to Ms. Kendrick about this incident, you guys went over facts and details together?
No.
Just talked about it?
Yeah.
Not in detail?
As pertaining to what happened,
Right.
we've talked about what happened.
Talk about the pepper spray?
No.
No? Okay. Now, these are friends of yours and an ex-boyfriend of yours.
Yes, sir.
You want to help them out, don't you?
I want to help the child that lost her life out.
So
I
you
want to help
Miss-
everybody out.
Miss Robinson out too?
Everybody.
Okay. Is that your reason for giving so many inconsistent statements?
What do you mean by that?
Is that your reason for making things up?
I'm not making nothing up.
Hold on one second. Judge, I have no more questions, Ms. Yeomans.
Ms. Hawthorne?
Ms. Yeomans, how long have you and Dee Dee been friends?
Since we were like 17,
And how old are you now?
30.
So about 13 years?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a long time. Do you talk to her every day?
Pretty much. Just about.
Do you spend a lot of time together?
Sometimes.
Would you say you're a devoted friend?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on September 13th, when you went to the club, had you been drinking earlier in the evening?
No, ma'am.
Did you drink while you were at the club?
I had one.
And when the fight broke out, you were inside the club?
Yes, ma'am.
And you saw your friend, Dee Dee, get hit?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you see her get injured?
What do you mean? Her injury being by shot?
No, inside the club.
I'm not understanding what you're saying.
Well, did she get hurt when she was fighting with Maisha in the club?
I mean, as far as you saying, has she been hit?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, did you see her get hurt? Did you see any bruises on her?
I seen her like a few days after that.
Okay. Did you ever tell someone that someone had a black eye?
No, ma'am.
Did Maisha get a black eye?
I never saw her face, so I don't know that.
Do you remember giving a deposition on Thursday, July 24th, 2016?
Possibly.
You don't remember that?
I gave a lot. I don't know the dates, but
Okay. Do you remember saying that the girl in the midst of Juan Sosa and them jumping around, or however the girl, Maisha, she had swung and hit her, and her eye was black?
okay.
Was there anybody else involved in the fight?
Other than who?
Danielle, your friend,
Okay.
and Maisha Barrow.
And her brother. It was a lot of people around.
But you were describing Maisha hitting Danielle
Yes, ma'am.
and getting a black eye.
I don't know if it happened right then, but eventually she had one.
You're describing that in the deposition,
Yes, ma'am.
that's what happened that night.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now you're backing off from that, right?
You said that she get hurt.
Yes, ma'am, that's what I asked you.
Okay.
Is a black eye getting hurt?
I mean, it can be.
Okay. So, did you get involved in the altercation inside of the bar?
No, ma'am.
When the altercation was done, the security moved the people outside, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you move outside at that time as well?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you saw my client, Michael Smith,
Yes, ma'am.
outside with a tank top and some shorts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And they were gym shorts?
Yes, ma'am.
So he really wasn't dressed for the evening?
I mean, people dress how they want to dress when they're just coming to hang out.
There were some people there that were dressed quite fashionably, taking event photographs, weren't they?
Yeah,
And weren't you dressed nicely?
always.
Okay. But on that evening, you saw my client outside in a
Yes.
tank top and some gym shorts?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And when you saw him outside on the other side of the car from Maisha and her brother?
What do you mean by that?
Did you see them on opposite sides of a car?
I didn't see Maisha on the same side as Michael.
Okay. Juan Barrow was on the opposite side of the car, too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they were on, Michael Smith was on one side of the car, and Mr. Barrow was on the other side of the car, correct?
Yes.
All right. And your friend is out there, and she's having words with Maisha again, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you observe Maisha taking her shoes off?
I'm not sure when she took her shoes off.
Wouldn't it be like she took her shoes off so she could fight again?
That would be possible, yes.
Okay, that would be a fair statement?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And at that point, did you take your friend and try to leave?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so then Maisha and Danielle were going at it again,
Yes, ma'am.
and security had to come in.
Security was already outside.
Did the security people go towards Danielle?
Yeah.
Were they holding her?
Yes.
And she was trying to get away from the security.
Yes.
She was trying to fight Maisha.
Because Maisha was coming towards her, yes.
They were both still wanting to go at it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, would it be fair to say that that parking lot is real dark?
On the side of the building, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The lights aren't very good, are they?
No.
And they don't have lights outside.
They have a few.
Do you remember telling us that they didn't have any lights outside?
Outside where? In front of the club or in the parking lot?
You said it was dark out there.
Okay.
Okay. So, I guess they have one light at the entrance? Do you remember that? Over the door? You know
Yeah.
that light pole that's out in front?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then farther back in the parking lot, it gets dark,
Yeah.
and it's hard to see.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are outside mulling around in the parking lot, but your friend Dee Dee and Maisha are going at it, and that's causing a lot of attention with security. And Mr. Barrows getting upset because Maisha and Dee Dee are going at it, and Dee Dee's yelling at him, and he's yelling at her, and they're going back and forth, right?
Yeah.
So you've described the person out there that fired the shots as wearing all black, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me?
Yes.
And now, did you and Dee Dee ever talk about her seeing Maisha do shooting?
I can't recall that.
Okay. She's never told you that she saw Maisha shooting?
Not from my understanding.
Okay. Now, after the first shot was fired, you turned and ran, didn't you?
Yes.
And you went back into the club, or tried to get back in the club, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you weren't looking out to see what was going on. You were trying to get to safety, correct?
Correct.
All right. And you saw Benitria?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And you saw, as you turned to run, you saw someone on the ground.
Yes, ma'am.
And you believe that person was Benitria?
It was, yes, ma'am.
Okay. You didn't tell us anything about Mr. Smith after you ran inside. You didn't see anything after that, correct?
I was inside.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
You redirect.
No further questions,
The witness excused.
Briefly,
I beg your pardon?
briefly have her say.
Okay. Next witness.
State calls Zachary Hughes.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Have a seat. Ms. Kipke.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the record?
Detective Zachary Hughes, Z-A-C-K-A-R-Y, Hughes, H-U-G-H-E-S.
And what agency do you work for?
Marion County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you been with the Marion County Sheriff's Office?
11 years, almost working on 12.
Okay. What's your current position with them?
My current position is a task force officer with the Federal Bureau of Investigations.
Okay. And what do you do in that position?
I'm a dual sworn officer. My desk is actually at the FBI office, and I work on organized crime, violent crime, under the Safe Streets program
How long have you been doing that?
since April of this year.
And what were you doing before that position?
Before that, I was a major crimes detective working in the major crime section of the Sheriff's Office.
Okay. How long were you a major crimes detective?
Approximately 3 years.
What did you do before that?
I worked in the patrol division.
And is that encompass the rest of your career with the Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you asked, along with pretty much everybody else in major crimes, to help out with the investigation in the Cloud9 shooting that occurred the early morning hours of September 13th, 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And were you one of the lead detectives on the case?
No, ma'am.
Were you asked to perform a specific witness contact?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was that with?
I was given one phone number to speak with, and then did a physical contact with Ebony Yeomans.
And did you actually make contact with her in person?
Yes, ma'am.
On what date?
That would have been on the 15th.
Of
September, I'm sorry.
what year?
2015.
Okay, thank you. And where did you make contact with Ms. Yeomans?
It was outside an apartment complex.
And what was the purpose of making contact with Ms. Yeomans?
I had 2 photo lineups to show her.
Okay. And they had been provided to you from another detective?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you aware of anything in particular about either of these two lineups that were given to you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you know the people pictured in the lineups?
No, ma'am, not that I recall.
Okay. Did you also interview Ms. Yeomans as well?
I did, yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was the main focus of your contact?
Making sure that I understood where she was during her observations of the incident, and making sure I understood who she was picking out of the photo lineups.
Okay.
Detective, I'm gonna show you first. Packaged all these separately. For identification, states AAA and states ZZ. Do you recognize these two?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you recognize those two exhibits to be?
The first one is our form for conducting a photo lineup, which includes some instructions, some fill-in-the-blank stuff.
Is that something that you read to the person that you're showing the lineup to?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you did in this particular case?
Yes, ma'am.
With Ms. Yeomans?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is states ZZ?
This would have been the actual photo lineup.
Okay. And on September 15th, in this lineup, after reading the admonition, did Ms. Yeomans pick somebody out?
Yes, ma'am. She picked out the photograph in position 4,
Do you even know who that is?
just from what I see here in the court.
Okay.
That's all.
At the time when you were doing this photo lineup, did you know who that person was?
No, ma'am, I did not.
And did she sign the admonition form?
Yes, ma'am, she did.
Okay. And who did she describe as number 4 being?
She described to me that number 4 was the person that she knew as Quan Sosa.
Okay. On that same date, did you also show Ms. Yeomans states XX and states YY?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do you recognize those to be?
The first one is, again, our instruction form for a different photo lineup, and the other one is the photo lineup I just showed her.
Okay. Did she select anybody in this photo lineup?
No, ma'am, she did not.
Did she sign it? Did she sign the admonition form?
She signed the admonition form, yes, ma'am.
Okay, indicating that she did not select anybody.
That's correct.
Okay. This point in time, the state would move states YY, XX, ZZ, and AAA as states, whatever the next 4.
45, 46, 47, and 48. Any objection?
No.
No objection.
Mr. Bankowitz?
No objection.
All right. States Exhibit XX for identification will be received in evidence as States Exhibit 45. States Exhibit YY for identification will be received in evidence as States Exhibit 46. States Exhibit ZZ for identification will be received as States Exhibit 47. And States Exhibit AAA will be received in evidence as States Exhibit 48.
No further questions.
Cross?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Gorley?
Detective Hughes, you interviewed Ms. Yeomans 2 days after the event, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and the purpose of interviewing a witness 2 days after the event is you want to make sure that their memory is fresh and that they can recall things because it's so close in time to the actual event.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And during that interview of Ms. Yeomans, you recorded her testimony to you, correct?
I recorded the interview, yes, sir.
Right. And the purpose of recording the interview and making notes is so that you can document it in a report in case you potentially have to come to court and testify, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, during the interview that took place on September 15th, 2015, did Ms. Yeomans ever tell you that my client made a statement, if you pepper spray me, I will shoot you?
Not that I recall, no, sir.
Okay. And if she had made that statement, obviously it's an important fact that you would have put that in your report, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In the statement that you took on September 15th of 2015, Do you recall if Ms. Yeomans made a statement to you that Michael Smith handed a gun to my client?
Not that I'm aware of, no, sir.
And if Ms. Yeomans had made that statement to you, it's obviously a very important fact that would have been included in your reports, correct?
Yes, sir.
And none of those statements or facts are contained in any report that you made, correct?
Not that I recall, no, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Hawthorne?
This case got a tremendous amount of media attention in the local area, didn't it, sir?
Objection, relevance.
Council approach.
Did you talk to Ms. Yeomans? Oh, sorry, dear. You didn't talk to Ms. Yeomans about my client, Mr. Smith, did you?
Not that I recall, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any redirect?
Detective Hughes, in your interview with Ms. Yeomans, she identified witnessing two people shoot, correct?
I recall that, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the one out of the two lineups that you showed her was one of the people she identified as a shooter.
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further.
Mr. Banquet?
If I may, the other lineup you showed her, she did not pick anyone out, correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
And that lineup was Gary King's lineup, wasn't it?
I don't know who was in that lineup, sir.
Thank you, sir.
No questions, Your Honor.
No more questions.
All right. Witness excused?
Happy to say.
Okay, all right. Go back to where you were waiting before. Call your next witness.
State calls Deputy Mark Eubanks.
Getting his own parking place here soon. All right. You're still under oath.
Deputy, did you ever have an opportunity to meet with Ebony Yeomans?
Yes, I did.
And on what date did you meet with her?
That was September 22nd, 2015,
And what was the purpose of you meeting with Ms. Yeomans on that date?
to administer her a photo lineup,
How many?
just one,
And where did you meet with her?
at the first floor parking garage of the courthouse.
Okay, so actually on this in this complex?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Deputy, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification as states BBB. Do you recognize these two pieces of paper?
I do.
And what do you recognize them as?
This is the admonition form for the photo array, as well as the photo array.
Okay. And this is what you administered to Ms. Yeomans on the date that you met with her?
Yes,
And did she select a photo?
she did.
And what numbered photo did she select?
Number 5.
Did she circle it?
She did.
Did she initial it?
She did.
And what did she identify number 5 as doing or witnessing?
Possessing and discharging a firearm the night of the incident.
Okay. And who is number 5?
Michael Smith.
At this time, the state would move states BBB into evidence as states.
49?
Any objection?
No objection.
I'd like to voir dire the witness.
Okay.
Good morning.
Morning.
You were tasked with taking quite a few of these lineups out to show to different people, correct?
Correct.
And you were involved in a lot of the investigation in this case, correct?
Correct.
Are there guidelines that the police department puts out with regard to administering lineups?
Yes.
And those guidelines have changed quite a bit over the last few years.
Correct.
Is it now you have the admonition form that you have the individuals read, correct?
Correct.
And at the time that you went ahead and provided this lineup to Ms. Yeomans, was this done by a neutral person who had no knowledge of what was contained in the information?
I don't recall so.
You were the one that gave it to her, correct?
Yes.
And you had quite a bit of knowledge regarding this case, correct?
Correct.
All right. And the, was the lineup videotaped? Did you videotape how it was handled?
No.
Did you audio tape it?
Yes.
Okay. And the reason for that is to make sure that there's no verbal improper indication as to which photo the person should be selecting?
Correct. To
All right.
document it.
All right. And the reason you do that is to make sure that the person makes an independent selection without any interference from yourself or any other outside information source.
Correct.
All right. At the time, and some witnesses were given lineups by individuals that really had no knowledge of the case, correct?
Everybody in the unit had worked on some aspect of this case.
Okay. But you were asked to give this particular lineup to Ms. Yeomans?
Correct.
All right. Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Do you have an
No
objection?
objection.
No objection. All right. State's Exhibit B for identification will be received in evidence as State's Exhibit 49.
The state has no further questions.
All right. Cross-examination?
No.
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Hawthorne?
At the time you conducted this lineup, Mr. Smith had been arrested, correct?
On unrelated charges, yes.
Right, okay. And at this time, when you conducted this lineup, did Ms. Yeoman share with you that she identified my client because she had seen him in the newspaper or TV because he had been arrested?
She'd stated that she saw a picture. I don't recall what type of picture she saw.
All right. And that's how she was able to pick the picture out of the lineup?
She indicated to me that when she saw whatever picture she mentioned that she saw to me, that's when she recognized him as the individual that she saw on the night of the incident with the gun.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, you can step down. I imagine you're still on the hook for something, so. All right, call your next witness.
State recalls Detective Hughes.
You're still under oath, Detective?
Detective Hughes, we talked about in the two photo lineups that you showed Ms. Yeomans that she identified a person out of only one of them.
That's correct.
And she identified that one person as being a shooter.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she also describe to you in the interview what the other shooter looked like and was wearing?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was her description of that person?
She described them wearing red basketball shorts, a white shirt, and spiked hair.
Did she know the name of that person?
That person she described as Michael Smith, according to my report.
And what date, again, did you talk to her?
That would have been on the 15th of September, 2015.
Okay, so 2 days after the incident?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea what time of day you spoke with her?
I believe it was before lunch.
And she described this person with the white top and red basketball shorts as being the second shooter that she saw.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bankowitz?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Gorley?
No questions, Judge.
Now, Ms. Hawthorne.
Did she share with you that after she heard the first shot, she ran back into the club?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that she had seen Mr. Barrow shooting?
Not that I recall her speaking about who she knew as Quan Sosa and who she knew as Michael Smith.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Is he excused?
Yes.
All right, you can go about your business.
Ms. Young is excused.
Okay. Call your next witness.
Speaking called D.D. Webster.
Can we approach for a second?
Sure. All right. Folks, we're going to try to hold in place here for a moment to resolve an issue, hopefully, quickly. Do you need to speak with her?
No, sir.
Okay,
I'm just going to wait for a moment.
okay.
Can I begin, Your Honor?
Once I get her sworn, would you stand, please, and face the clerk?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes, ma'am.
Have a seat.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Can you tell the jury your name and spell it for our court reporter?
D.D. Webster, D-E-E-D-E, W-E-B-S-T-E-R.
And just so we're all clear, you are not Dee Dee Kendrick or
No.
Danielle Kendrick.
No, sir.
Do you know Danielle Kendrick?
Yes.
Does she also go by the name Dee Dee?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Webster, previously you've been convicted of a felony on 3 occasions
Yes.
and 3 misdemeanors involving dishonesty or false statement.
Dishonesty.
Theft offenses?
Yes.
Where do you live?
Orlando.
Do you have any ties to the Ocala area?
Yes, my family is from here.
How old are you?
33.
Have you ever lived in Ocala?
Yes.
And at what points in your life did you live in Ocala?
My whole childhood, all the way until I was 20, and then like a couple years ago, about 3 years ago, I lived here.
Back in 2015, where were you living?
Orlando. I had just moved back.
On September 13, 2015, did you come to the Cloud9 nightclub?
Yes, sir.
Why did you come to the nightclub?
Because I had came to hang out with a friend of mine and her family, me and my son, and me and her decided to go out.
Who was the friend you came to see?
Kiana Oates.
Do you know somebody named Benitria Robinson?
Yes.
How do you know Benitria?
She's my cousin. She's my cousin Tiki's daughter, which makes her my cousin as well.
You know somebody named Nathaniel Kendrick?
No.
Danielle Kendrick?
Danielle is the girl they call Dee Dee, right? Yeah.
How do you know?
I know her from school.
Would you say she's a friend?
No.
You know somebody named Laquan Barrow?
Not that name, no.
Are you familiar with somebody who goes by the nickname Quan Sosa?
Yes.
How are you familiar with that individual?
Because he was the person I saw with a gun at the Cloud9.
Do you know somebody named Gary King?
I know Gary part, but not his last name.
But you know somebody as Gary?
Yes.
You know somebody named Michael Eugene Smith?
No.
The person you described as Quan Sosa, do you see him here in court today?
Yes.
Can you describe what he's wearing for the jury?
He has on a white shirt and a blue tie.
May the record reflect you as identified Mr. Barrow.
The record will so reflect.
The gentleman you described knowing as Gary, do you see him in court today?
Yes.
Can you describe what he's wearing for the jury?
A black shirt and a gray tie.
May the record reflect you as identified Mr. King.
The record will so reflect.
When you and Ms. Oates went to Cloud9 that night, why'd you all go?
We were hanging out with our kids, and her fiance was here, and we just wanted to go out because some of my family members were already at the club, and we decided to go out there.
What were you planning on doing once you got there?
Hang out with my family and friends and just have a good time.
And did you make it inside the club that night?
Yes, we did.
Did you have a good time?
No, because we had barely got there and got a drink and started walking around when people started fighting.
You know who was fighting?
I didn't know at first who was fighting.
Did you eventually see who was fighting?
Danielle, some other girls, and her brother, I think he was, and some guys. Well, I guess those guys were fighting with him. But outside, I realized that it was girls and guys fighting.
Inside, who did you see involved in this fight?
I didn't see the fight. They said it was fighting. They turned on the lights, and I told Kim, let's go.
Okay, so actually inside, you
I didn't
know what
see
you
any
heard.
fighting. I just heard it was a fight, and I was like, we need to leave.
Okay. Lights go on.
Everybody started going outside.
You go outside?
Yes.
Now, when you get outside the club, what's going on out there?
When I got to the doorway, I saw the guy in the white shirt tell Gary to give him the stick because he been wanting to shoot somebody from Parkside. And so I said, Kim, I think they're finna start shooting. We need to go ahead and leave. But then they didn't say too much else. They just were arguing backwards and forth with the other people. And they backed up to their cars, so I thought everything had died down. Kim saw somebody that she knew, so we walked over for her to talk to them. And it seemed like everything was dying down, but then Danielle and two ladies, I didn't know who they were, started arguing beside the car. So we went over there because Kim is closer to Danielle, and she was trying to tell her not to fight, to just go home. And so we were standing there, and a guy told the two girls to leave. And the next thing I know, I'm thinking that everything's over with. They tell them to leave so they stop fighting, but they started shooting.
Who did you see shooting?
At first, I didn't see anybody because I just ducked down. But Kim was like, they're not shooting at us, they're shooting in the air. So I stood up real quick, and I looked, and I saw him shooting. And then I ducked back down, and I told Kim she need to duck down because they shooting at the people. They not shooting in the air, but she didn't duck down. She just kept standing there, and they just kept shooting. Then I just kept hearing bullets and bullets and bullets, and they were just shooting.
When you said you saw him shooting,
The guy in the white shirt.
how well did you know Benitria?
I knew her when we were really little, but not really well. I see her and I speak to her because she's related to me, but we weren't really close. And now I regret that because now her life is over with.
You mentioned Mr. Barrow saying, I've been wanting to shoot somebody from Parkside.
Yes,
What is Parkside?
it's a neighborhood in Ocala, well,
part?
apartment complex.
What part of Ocala is it in?
Pretty much right across the street. So this area right here.
A little west of 441?
Yes.
The gentleman you've identified as Mr. Barrow, do you know what part of the county he lives in?
Not really. I know he hang with people that's from the shores, Silver Spring shores.
Are you aware of any kind of feud between people from those two areas?
I wasn't until that night.
Did you see Benitria after the shots?
Yes, when all the shots stopped, one of her friends was trying to get up, so I walked over there, and we all was like, get up, Anitra, get up. And the girl was like shaking her. Then she moved her face, and we saw the blood, and I just looked at her. I'm like, oh my God, that's Benny and T's daughter. She dead, bro. And then I ran to my car, and I called my mom. And I'm like, Mom, they killed Benny and T's daughter. They finna die. Benny and T gonna be upset. They killed her. They baby. She dead, bro. She dead. So my mom was like, Dee, calm down. What are you talking about? I was like, I'm in Ocala, and they killed Benny and T's daughter. She dead, bro. I'm like, she is dead. what am I going to do? Because I've been drinking. I'm not even supposed to be in Ocala. And she was like, well, go back to wherever you was and call me when you get there. Let me know that you're safe. And so then I sat in the car and I waited for Kim. And she came to the car and I was like, we got to go because I'm not even supposed to be in Ocala, bro. And she was like, all right, let's go. But then when we left, we got down the road. The police was walking up and they were driving up. And she was like, stop the car because I got to go over there and talk to them. And I'll just have Brian, her fiance, pick her up. And I was like, all right. So I went back to her house and he went and got her.
You and her stayed behind?
Yes.
Dee Dee, why didn't you talk to the police that night?
Because I was out on bond and I had been drinking and I was driving.
Were you supposed to be in Ocala?
No, sir.
Were you supposed to be drinking?
No, sir.
Were you supposed to be driving?
No, sir.
Now, last month, October, did a friend of yours, Ms. Oates, get served with a subpoena for this trial?
Yes.
Do you know if she provided your name to the person who served her with a subpoena?
I don't think she did at first, but she asked me did they ever contact me, and I told her no. And I told her if they needed people to testify to go ahead and get them my information, and I would come up here, and she did.
You then had contact with an investigator from the state attorney's office?
Yes.
And you then spoke to me by phone?
Yes.
After that, you came up here and you gave a deposition probably about 2 weeks ago?
Yes.
And you did that voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
Without needing to be subpoenaed?
No, sir.
Do you wish you had talked to the police right then?
I was
Objection, Judge.
Sustained.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Bankowitz?
Thank you, Judge. Now, you indicated you saw my client outside the club
Yes,
talking
sir.
to Mr. Juan Sosa. You know as Juan Sosa. Did you see my client give him anything?
No.
And did you see my client with a gun?
No, sir.
Did you see him shooting anybody or doing anything relative to the firing of a weapon that night?
No, sir.
And you had a good view of him?
Not after they went to the car, I did not.
Okay. So, but when they were at the door,
I saw him and I saw him talking to him, but I didn't see the gun that he was talking about, or I didn't see him hand him the gun.
thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Gorley?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Webster, if I'm understanding things correctly, despite having all this information about Ben and Kiki's daughter, you didn't come forward until about a month ago?
I actually went online on the crime line and tried to put in the information. But other than that, no, I just talked through Kiana.
Okay, but you never contacted
No.
the law enforcement to tell them, hey, I got some information about this, you need to talk to me?
No.
Okay. And your statement to Kiana was if they needed somebody to testify that you would come, correct?
Yes.
All right. Now, if I heard you correctly, you said that my client made these statements about wanting to shoot somebody from Parkside in the hallway or the doorway?
Right in front of the door. I was inside the doorway. He was outside of the club.
Okay, right in front there, where the
Yes.
security cameras are?
I don't know if there's security cameras, but yes, he was right there in front.
And Gary King was right there?
Yes.
All right. And I believe you said that there were several fights going on outside, correct?
Well, no, they were arguing backwards and forth. Ended up being one fight outside. I don't even think they really got two fight, but it was about one fight.
Okay. And that one fight involved Dee Dee?
The girl did, yes.
And do you know who she was fighting with?
Two girls. I don't know who they are.
Okay. Do you know Ebony Yeomans?
No.
Did Dee Dee have any friends that were fighting with her?
Not when I saw her.
All right. So it was just her fighting?
Yes, it was her with two women fighting towards her, and they were arguing.
Now, do you know who Nate Kendrick is?
No.
All right. Dee Dee's brother?
I don't know him, but I know that he was one of the people that was shot.
Okay. Do you recall when he came outside?
No, I don't know who he is.
All right. While this was going on, did you ever see an individual in a large individual, bigger than my client, in a white shirt, next to my client?
Not that I remember. I remember his face because of the scar that was on the side of it and the statement that he made. That's the only reason why I remember him. I don't remember hardly all the people that were out there. I remember the little things that I seen that triggered information that stayed in my mind, but all the people, they had a group of people with them. It wasn't just him and those two. It was a whole lot of them.
These little bits of information that are triggered, did Kiana Oates give you any of this information?
No.
Did you guys talk about the incident?
We've talked about it a few times.
Okay, did you go over what happened, what he saw, what you saw?
I told her what I saw a couple of times. She never really talked to me about what she saw.
Okay, so you told her what you saw, but she never said anything to you? Okay. Now, did you ever see an individual holding back my client at any time, physically restraining him from trying to get in a fight?
No.
And you said that you saw the shooting start.
I didn't see it start.
You
I
heard
heard gunshots and then I ducked. But Kim said that they weren't shooting at us, they were shooting in the air, and that's when
And you were where?
beside the car.
Beside what car?
The car that was in front of the club.
Okay. And at that vantage point, despite shooting going on, you decided to poke your head up and see what was going on.
Yes, because she said they were shooting in the air because I was telling her to duck down.
Okay. Now, Dee Dee is your cousin.
No,
I'm
Benitra.
Benitria, I'm sorry. Benitria is your cousin.
Yes.
You know her family, obviously. You know their
Yes.
nicknames and everything else. Is the reason that you're coming here today is that you want to try to help that family?
No, it's not because I want to help them. It's because he was wrong for shooting at a group of people that didn't have nothing to do with this incident. Whatever beef they had, they should have handled that on their own time. Not at a club full of people that's not even got nothing to do with it.
It's not because you think they needed somebody to testify in the case?
Well, not because I think that my family needed somebody, but if the state attorney didn't have enough people that knew the truth, then yes.
Isn't that really why you came forward a month ago? I mean, you had 2 years to give this information that's important. And now we're getting close to trial. In 2 years, you come up and say, I've got this stuff, and I tried to call a hotline.
What you mean, like because of my family is the reason why I came
Yeah,
forward?
you're trying to help them out, isn't that?
No, I ain't trying to help them out. I'm just trying to make sure that the whole truth get out there. Because it seemed like my friend was saying that they subpoenaed her, but then she asked me did they talk to me, and I said no. And I'm done with my case. I don't have anything holding me back from being here.
Okay. And you've been convicted of 3 felonies?
Yes,
You've been convicted of 3 crimes of dishonesty?
yes,
And at the time that this occurred, you were out on bond.
yes,
And out on bond, you were also drinking at the club, correct?
yes.
How much you have to drink at that club?
I only had 1 drink at the club, and I didn't even get to finish it.
I take that by at the club, meaning that you drank prior before you went to the club, correct?
Yes,
How much
we were hanging out.
How much? Yeah, who were you hanging out with? Your friend?
Yes,
How much were you drinking then?
a little bit. I had probably 2 cups, and they're mixed with pineapple juice.
Okay.
Some Black Label liquor that she had. I don't know what kind it is, but it's just called Black Label.
Okay, and it was a liquor, correct?
Yes,
And these are these solo cups, right?
yes,
The red cups,
yes. Not filled all the way up though.
but with the dark liquor and the pineapple juice.
It's white.
Or the dark label liquor.
Yes, it's dark. It's Black Label, but it's white liquor.
Hold on one second. I do not have any more questions of Ms. Webster.
Ms. Hawthorne?
Ms. Webster,
Yes, ma'am.
am I correct? You did not see my client that evening?
Not specifically, no. I never saw his face before, not memorized it.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You had a paper.
You recall what you were wearing?
Was it you had a paper?
No, I'm sorry. I don't even remember.
So
All right, anything else
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
No cross on the outfit.
on the outfit? Okay, all right. All right, ma'am, you can step down. Is she excused? You can go about your business. Ladies and gentlemen, I think your lunch arrived. This time, it's only been about 10 minutes, so it should be a little longer. Please leave your pads here in the courtroom on your chairs. Remember again, it's not going to be time to talk about the case until sometime next week, but enjoy your lunch, and we'll have you back out here a little bit after 1 o'clock.